All right, fellas, welcome back to Random City Sports Ballers. We're gonna look through what I've had some improvement. I've had some teams that everything is going good. Everything is going good, but I've got some things I want to talk about later on. It's some players. We're gonna talk about some players. Okay, but anyways. Let's take a look here where we're at. Remember, Random City Sports Ballers, doing the worst of all of them, is 23-32, moving up slightly. If you look at the rankings here, it's only 5 games away from being in seventh. So that's not too bad, right? We've got Random City Sports Ballers. C6 has moved into playoff position. I told you that's what happens. I was not worried about them. So they're in contention now. But this team that's in first place, he's really running off with first place, isn't he? But we're only 2 games behind second place now. And seriously, fellas, this was a team that I know a lot of, I imagine if I was watching these videos, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that team's in trouble. But they're doing fine. Now, we've moved up with F2. They are now up to 9th place, so move in the right direction. We've got C3 moved up into 8th place, so they're also moving the right direction. And then the C2 has fallen from 3rd place to 5th place. It's a rough week. Look, a 2-8 loss. These numbers in pitching over here, yuck. 5.34, 1.35. Couldn't get wins and saves, but, it is what it is. And this is one of the people we're going to talk about is on this team here, Paul Skeens. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so moving on. Letter C is in 7th place. They fell down from 5th place. But, that's just barely. Look at that. They're a half a game back. So, again, I'm not worried about that. W is in 2nd place still. Even on that big week, we're now tied for first, technically. But, okay. Empire strikes out. Rough week for them as well. A 2-5 loss moves them from 3rd down to 6th place. But just seriously, 3 games out of first. So it's not that far, fellas. And then F stays in first place with a good lead over 2nd place. We're 5 games ahead of 2nd place. And really good pitching numbers this week. I'm pretty happy with those pitching numbers. A little less happy with some of these batting numbers, but pitching numbers, they came out pretty good. Moving on. Random City Sports Ballers C5. You remember they were in first last week? Well, they're still in first this week on a 5-4 win. Then we've got Random City Sports Ballers C4 are tied for 6th place still. I mean, we took a 4-5 loss, but we're still tied for 6th. So that's playoff position. I'm happy with the home runs here. Look at that, 12. Actually, these are a lot of good numbers. These are a lot of good numbers at 336, 125. Wins at 4, saves at 2, not great. But the rest of this there's a lot of good stuff happening here. And then we move on to F3. F3 was in first place. F3 fell to 3rd place. And Random City Sports Ballers WK is in 5th place after a rough week there too. Wow, this guy, he got 17 home runs off his team this week. That's look at this ERA and whip with 5 wins. That's good job, fella. But anyhow, so what that breaks down to is I have 1 team in 11th place, 1 team in 9th, 1 team in 8th, 1 team in 7th. So 4 teams that are missing the playoffs right now. But, I mean, seriously, the ones that are 9th, 8th, and 7th are right there. We also have, in 6th place, I have 2 teams. 5th place, I have 3 teams. 3rd place, I have 1 team. 2nd place, I have 1 team. And in 1st place, I have 2 teams. Yeah. So, I'm happy with what's happening. We're just below that 75% threshold, though. 9 out of 13 are in the playoffs. If it was 9 out of 12, that's 75%. So 9 out of 13 is just slightly below that. But I'm happy with the way that's working out. Let's talk about a couple of players now, shall we? I want to talk about Jared Jones. How great has this been? This young player come into the league, and he hasn't slowed down a bit. Which leads me to the next guy that I want to talk about, Paul Skeens off the same team. Okay. Maybe we're going, hey, Paul Skeens, he might not be ready for the Major League Baseball. Well, that was kind of a nightmare of an outing. Let's take a look at what he did here. He'll be under matchup totals. 4 innings. He had 7 strikeouts. His ERA was 6.75, and the WHIP was 2. So that's not great on ERA and WHIP. But seriously, those 7 strikeouts, I want you to just think about that. His first appearance here in the major leagues. What is he, 20? Well, he's young. He is a young player. And I read somewhere that he hit over 100 miles per hour 17 times. And if you watch, I can't play the video here because it'll bog down my computer and I won't be able to record. But I can tell you, he really did a good job out there. He just, on his first appearance as a young player with a lot of pressure on him, let's give him a chance to see how it goes, all right? All right, so that's what I want to get off my chest with that fella. A lot of folks are talking about Spencer Torkelson and his lack of production in the home run department. Well, they're saying the same thing about Matt Olson. It just happens. Slumps happen, okay? Morel and Santander are the ones who got me multiple home runs this week. Nice job, fellas. Nothing out of Adolis Garcia for home runs, so am I going to drop him? No. I've got Sawinski here. This is one of the ones where I took Sawinski instead of Rooker. You all know I was bigger on Rooker than I was Sawinski. Let's talk about Rooker, shall we? I don't know. I just grabbed one of my teams, and sure enough, here's Brent Rooker. Okay, last week, he got 2 runs, a home run, 3 RBIs, stole a base, and hit .417. Now, I don't care so much about those numbers, but I drafted Rooker for his home runs, right? Well, he's got, I think, 9 of them now. Hoskins had a great week for home runs for me. That was excellent. Castellanos finally putting things together. Santander, we talked about a minute ago. Morel was on my bench today. Ugh. But, hey, he hit a home run today, so I missed out on that. And, seriously, guys, keep your players at your heart. You know these were good players you drafted. You know it's all working out fine for your teams if you followed the pattern and you didn't draft them all to look the same. They all have to look different. No more than 50% of your teams can have one player over and over. You just can't do it. You got to mix it up. Otherwise, you're going to suffer some of those injuries that are just going to crush you. Just going to be crushing injuries. But anyways, okay. So next week we'll have another update. It looks like everything is going about the same, right around 75% playoffs. And I'm happy with that for my teams. Not too, going to get overexcited because things can change. One injury. They happen all the time. What's going on with Ohtani? That's questionable. When is Snell coming back? Well, very soon. That's going to be a big boost here. But anyways, so we'll get back to you next week. I hope you followed the plan because it should be working out for you. 75% of your teams will be in the playoffs. All right, fellas. Thanks for tuning in.